I think that's one of the most important things to speak on and to know is like it's not a one size fits all journey.
Yeah.
And different things are going to work for different people. And I think sometimes I get when I hear that there's closed off energy to that, I'm like, but we're all so different.
Yes.
And there's so many deep layers to this. And it's like scientifically speaking, any person can get addicted to alcohol. Alcohol is an addictive substance. And there's just different layers.
Welcome back to the Sobriety Diaries, friends. I'm your host, Nate Kelly, founder of Pod Studio and recovering alcoholic 8.5 years from my last drink. It just still amazes me every time I say that. Recovery is possible. Friends, ask for help if you don't know the next step in your journey. I am just giddy with excitement for today's conversation. Probably one of my favorite conversations that we've had on the show. Coach and mentor. You can see more at livingovertheinfluence.com. Hayley Scherders is with us. Hayley, hi, welcome back, my friend. How are you?
I'm so good. Now I'm giddy with excitement. We haven't barely started and my cheeks hurt from smiling, but I'm really excited. I'm grateful to be back. And I love how open and easy it is to talk to you. So I'm just excited.
Thank you. I try to make it
Yeah.
as safe of a space as possible.
Yeah.
You know, not only to, I think, the guest obviously feels more comfortable and willing to be vulnerable and honest in conversation, but it creates an environment where I think the listeners want to come back, and they can feel a connection to myself and to the guests. So I'm happy you feel that. It's definitely a goal of mine with the show.
Nailing it. I'd say you're nailing it.
Just nailing it.
He didn't tell me to say that either.
No, I didn't. Thank you. Well, you can check Hayley's first conversation on the show. I believe it's in season 2. I'll make sure to link everything in today's show notes. But we went through your own personal journey and sort of your path to recovery. So obviously, I don't want to repeat our conversation. I definitely want an update on life, though. It's been about 2 years. What you been up to?
Crazy.
How are things? How has your recovery evolved? I find that's the biggest change in my sort of what I can offer through my sobriety experiences. My recovery is always evolving. I'm adding new things. I'm maybe taking some things out of my routine and of the things that keep me sober daily. Do you find that as the years go on and you sort of strengthen your routine a bit more?
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like I find that question to be so layered because like even someone and I might have been you 2 years ago were like, what do you do in your recovery? And I was like, I don't necessarily even say I used to drink. I don't drink anymore.
Yeah.
Like that's the way I say it. Right. And I mean, I also used to
Do
do
many,
cocaine.
many
I
other
don't do
things.
lots of other things. Actually, I completely forgot about a party phase. But it's so interesting because I have grown so much in that time. And it's what's interesting is I think back to our first conversation and I remember being absolutely terrified, to be honest,
Oh,
going on. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm sharing my story. And right,
yeah.
there was so much shame, but also liberation at the same time, being able to share that shame. And in these 2 years, it's been growth. And just as you're saying, like adding things, taking things away, I've never really had like a formal routine or something that's like I have to do this daily to
Yeah.
stay in that state, right? A big thing for me, and even within coaching, right, is without desire, there's no temptation. Like the more we're able to learn things, and it was interesting. It was right after my mom passed away, and it was the month after that I stopped drinking, and I remember my dad looking at me and saying, "You're not going to find any of the answers you're looking for in the bottom of a bottle." And I was like, he's a damn wise man.
Yeah.
And I am very fortunate for he's like incredible. But I looked at it and then I would ask myself like, what's the benefit? what is it I'm looking for? And when I realized like there's nothing beneficial in this for me. Like it is just taking every part of my identity and my existence and it is stripping it away. And it just it helped to remove that romanticizing. And then I was like a baby deer,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We're learning to walk. We're a little nervous about everything. Like I had fears about everything. As I mentioned to you coming on the show and talking, I was like, you mean people are going to listen to
Right.
this?
Right.
That I like hit rock bottoms and I did some really questionable things and then I realized like the reason for sharing these things and for sharing your story, my story, everyone's story is to let people know that change is possible. And I always talk about it like being a buffet. And that's like the last 2 years, right? I've decided to put some different things on my
I
plate.
love that.
I go to the gym more. I do different things. And I'm always like at a buffet, you'll look at it and you're like, I don't know if that's for me. Try it. Right? Just try
Just
different
try
things. I
it.
was like, yeah, I was very much like, no, I'm an active sports person. I'm a runner. Like I'm a hit, strength, all these things. I'm like, yoga is not my thing. Meditation's not my thing. And I was very closed off. And I realized like those were just beliefs of things that I don't want to do or I don't want to try. And I wasn't opening myself up to trying new things. And I think that has dramatically changed in the last 2 years. Just being open.
I love that. Willingness is
Yes.
so much more intertwined and so much more present in my adult life than I ever thought it would be. The willingness to do things, the willingness to, try something at a restaurant, the willingness to do anything can
Yeah.
really open doors that otherwise would have, remained closed or that you would have never seen,
Yeah.
prior to putting yourself or surviving some of the things that we have in addiction and realizing that, yes, to your point, change is possible and we have the power to make those decisions. And I think that's just incredible. You said something I want to touch on because I relate to it so much. And it is, I used to drink and I don't now. I think when I first got sober, I was so in the mindset that I had to like wear it like a badge of honor. Hi, my name's Nate. I'm an alcoholic. I am sober. It was like the first thing that I mentioned about myself. It was like my top personality trait. The only thing that I mentioned, like it was,
Yeah.
and to a degree, I felt like it was what I was taught in the rooms, which I don't love. And that's one
Yeah.
of the things I don't love about the program is just that it's so heavy, and now it can just be something about myself. And no, thank you, I don't drink, or whatever it may be. But there's so much more to me than the fact that I used to drink and I don't now. So I love that you brought that up.
Oh, so true. I'm like everything you're saying. I'm
Yeah,
putting my hands up. And it's so true. And oh my gosh, I feel like you just like hit on a passion point for me. I
yeah,
have so many of those, right? But I think that's one of the huge barriers, right? And I was the exact same. My first year that I stopped drinking because I stopped for a year, then I drank again.
yeah.
Terrible. We talked about
I
that.
do recall.
It wasn't great.
Yeah.
But I was the same. It was that badge of honor. And I'm still, oh my goodness gracious, above and beyond proud. And I will praise it from the
Of
rooftops. Like I
course.
am so
Yeah.
proud. Same. Yeah. But I was the same. If someone would ask me something, I was like, I'm sober. I
Yeah.
don't, it wasn't like, yeah, no, I don't drink. It's like less casual. And to me, it's because at that point in time, I believed that my shame and drinking and not drinking, all of that was my identity. And that felt so consuming that it's like that has to be at the forefront. That's the meat and potatoes. That's who you are. And I think that's such a barrier because people think that that's how you have to feel for the
Yeah.
rest of your life, that that is at the forefront. My life is going to revolve around that. And I can say now, I always speak to people. I'm like, alcohol is like a light switch or like a piece of dust in the corner. I do care about dust in the corner because it bothers my OCD.
Ditto. Yeah.
But I'm like something that you don't pay attention to. Like it doesn't have to be your thing. You are your thing,
Yeah.
and the growth and the expansion and what you become passionate about and interested in, that's your thing. This is just like a page in your story, but it's not the whole book. And that I think like shifting that conversation and
Mm.
shifting the weight of it being your identity is just, I don't know. I would hope that that would help take the pressure off, that people don't think that that's the thing for the rest of your life, or that's what my focus has to be, or that's what I have to hide behind, and not remember like you have so many other amazing qualities. You've done so many other incredible things. Like alcohol is, like I said, part of your story, but it's not the focal point. It doesn't have to be the focal point.
Yes, great analogy. And I think, just to kind of put the cherry on top of that conversation is those those other pieces of yourself come back to life when the
Yes.
alcohol is removed. So it's like
Yeah.
not only can you look forward to new things and like finding
Mm,
new parts of yourself or new activities that you love, the
yeah.
ones that you may not even realize have kind of been snuffed out really come back to life.
Hmm.
Hey there, future podcaster. I'm Nate Kelly, and today I'm thrilled to introduce you to something that is going to transform your podcasting journey. Are you ready to turn your passion for podcasting into a thriving reality? Let me introduce you to the Podcast Launch Accelerator. Imagine a 6-month mentorship program where you get personalized one-on-one coaching, an action plan tailored to your goals, and a comprehensive podcast growth blueprint. But wait, there's more. We're throwing in exclusive interviews with industry experts, a professional podcast success toolkit, and access to our monetization masterclass. At the end of 6 months, we guarantee you a spot in the top 10%, appearance on top iTunes or Spotify charts, and a monetized podcast with host read ads. Ready to launch your podcast? Click the link below to secure your spot in the Podcast Launch Accelerator.
Yeah, I love it. And even when you mentioned the heavy energy, I
Yeah.
just finished a call yesterday where I'm like, we have this expectation that these conversations have to be heavy energy. And I'm like, it's actually incredibly beautiful, light energy. It's where we want to focus.
Yeah.
And like you said, we don't even know. You don't even know what becomes possible, what you're going to grow into, and what, like, it's just, yeah, to me, I have so much gratitude for all of it,
Yeah.
the good, the bad, and the hideously ugly. It was all a part of something beautiful.
Will you remind me if did you get sober with a 12-step program? Forgive my
No, oh my gosh,
non-recollection.
it's been a while,
Yeah.
and you're very busy, and you
Yeah.
talk to a lot of people. So, no, I didn't.
Okay.
I did go to detox, and like I went to a couple of meetings just to see what it was
Yeah.
like, and I think any resource that helps people is absolutely fantastic. There was something that didn't feel in alignment for me when having to label yourself,
Yeah.
and like I have no problem saying alcohol was a problem.
Yeah.
Like my relationship with alcohol was absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
But again, it's that box and a label that I was like,
Gosh, it's
I
so
was,
true. Yeah.
yeah,
And I look back at it and again, I will say like AA saved my life because it's
yeah,
what I needed at that time. But
yep,
now in retrospect and sort of looking at things with the different lens and the different knowledge and knowing different resources now, like
yep,
recovery coaches
yeah,
and this beautiful online recovery community that, we're both a
yep,
part of. And, understanding that each person gets to their goal in a different way. Um,
yes,
I can see why people say it's cult like and that you're dwelling on the past and everything's presented in a negative light. I am so grateful to the program and still read the
hmm,
literature and am lifelong till I die friends with people that I met in the rooms. But I think there
yeah,
are parts to the program that scare people off, and that's unfortunate. I wish that there weren't so many barriers to entry to a
Yep.
this free program that could save your life and
Yeah.
that is can be found worldwide, but there are certainly barriers to entry, and I think that's unfortunate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how you said that, right? I think that's one of the most important things to speak on and to know is like it's not a one size fits all journey.
Yeah.
And different things are going to work for different people. And I think sometimes I get when I hear that there's closed off energy to that, I'm like, but we're all so different.
Yes.
And there's so many deep layers to this. And it's like scientifically speaking, any person can get addicted to alcohol. Alcohol is an addictive substance. And there's just different layers. And I wanted to know the information. I wanted more understanding. And then it's just, again, I shift it into the space of gratitude that it can be this really, really cool journey of getting to know yourself and allowing that to be an opportunity. And as you said before, discovering who you are and reigniting those old pieces of you that you loved, but also building new and discovering who you want to become. And yeah, I think again, any resource, every resource, everyone finds their own way. My way was just like I went in a few different ways, and
Yeah.
then I ended up finding. I read This Naked Mind,
Yes.
and I had a couple light switch experience. Like I had bottoms, and then it wasn't bottoms that changed. It was this overwhelming gut feeling. I couldn't live like that, and I wasn't going to. If I had continued on the path that I was on, I
Yeah.
100% am so confident I wouldn't be here. I know
Same.
you can say they right,
I would have
which is
given myself maybe like 18 months, like two
yeah.
years max, if I
That's what I
would
was
have
gonna say.
continued to accelerate at the rate that I
Yeah,
was.
I was gonna say the exact same thing. I'm like maximum. I would have said 2 years,
Yeah.
and it isn't that. To be honest, isn't that insane to think about?
Insane. Yes. Literally poisoning otherwise healthy adult
Yeah,
people who are
yeah.
just slowly poisoning ourselves to death.
I was very much in a disempowered mindset and state of mind when things started deteriorating. Like I was in an unhealthy relationship. My mom's health was failing. And there was a lot of layers at the core of who I was that I didn't realize I didn't accept and I didn't love and I had to rebuild and I was looking in the wrong direction. And then just understanding that like you're not broken, there's nothing wrong with you. Alcohol's addictive, right? Instead of thinking this is my problem, what's wrong with me, this is my fault. So having that shift in thinking was really, really helpful.
Critical, really, right?
Crit- Critical is a pretty good word.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, this is kind of perfect segue. It's just all coming together, but I was speaking of, different modalities or, not everyone having a linear path to a life with no alcohol. I love finding new and innovative things, whether it's sound therapy, whether it's, I did this float thing. Do you know what I'm
Yes,
talking
yes,
about? Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I've wanted to try
Yeah.
that.
Well, I was on your blog and I saw something about the harmonic egg.
Okay, because when you said the sound therapy, I was like,
Yes.
are you in my head right now?
Which I was like, oh my God, what is this? Let me click right away. So I read your blog and then I went to their website and it is like this, think, Lady Gaga egg
Yes.
with like, correct me if I'm wrong, like immersive sound and light
Yes.
therapy, maybe? I don't know. Let's talk about
Yeah.
your harmonic egg experience.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny you're bringing this up because everyone on my team at This Naked Mind, like, I'll come on to a call and I'm like, I have my egg this afternoon. And everyone's like, tell me more. Oh my gosh. So I was experiencing seasonal affective disorder. It was the first time I've had that. And like, I would get out of bed to go to the gym, but I was not feeling good. And my friend mentioned this egg. She's like, "Oh, did you hear this egg opened?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, definitely not." Right. And this speaks to the beginning of the call when I'm like, I'm so much more open to trying new things. And this has opened me up even more. So yeah, it's an egg, like a literal egg. And you go in on a gravity chair. So you're tilted back.
Oh,
You have a
okay.
little blanket on, and
Yeah.
then a song will play for 40 minutes. And then it's 10 minutes of silence, and then there's two different lights. And so there's addiction protocols, there's different things for anxiety, for blocking, like for releasing blocks, to open up to spirit guides, to all. Oh my gosh. I ended up reading what is it? Meditation for Fidgety Skeptics by Dan Harris.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
because I was like, I'll sit, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
laundry, the mail, did I get that email? Like, I had a hard time. I walk, and that is my form of meditation. Being in nature is my form of meditation. And reading that book helped me realize, like, oh, meditation doesn't look like meditate. It can look different. You can be walking. But going into the egg, I was a little bit apprehensive. I'm like, am I going to be able to sit there for 40 minutes?
Right. I
Like,
usually can't
my
sit
mind was,
still.
me either. Like, at all. It was the weirdest thing. It closed. And at first I was like, do I open my eyes or close my eyes? Like, the overthinking,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Kicks in right away. And then I was like, oh my gosh, just relax. And what I believe is 4 minutes, I don't know. I have no concept of time. I felt this state of calm that I honestly don't know the last time I had felt. It felt like I had a weighted blanket on me, like a security, like a comfort weighted blanket of calm. And I genuinely don't know the last time I felt that. I had pretty terrible anxiety. I had anxiety as a kid, and then I didn't realize, like, when I stopped drinking, I was like, oh, no, I'll have no anxiety. Everybody talks about no anxiety. And I was like, oh, wait, you've had anxiety since you were a
Yeah, yeah,
kid.
yeah. Oh, my brain
That's
is
not the
broken.
case,
I forgot.
right? And so I would fairly consistently have a tight chest. I stopped drinking coffee in, oh my gosh, was it a year ago? It was
Wow.
like a year ago. Oh, I was like, it was because I'm like, it was
Oh
May.
my
And then I'm like,
God. Okay, put a pin in that conversation because we need to go there too.
okay, we'll go there. We will go there. Yes. But I always, and that dramatically changed my anxiety, but I still had it. And I would still, in coaching, we'll always say, like, hold things loosely, hold things loosely. But in my chest, I still would, like, I worry about other people. I feel like I'm good at not having over responsibility for clients, but my heart is still so heavily invested because I just want people to be happy
Mm.
and feel freedom. But I would have that tight chest pretty consistently, like a feeling of worry. And I kid you not, I came out of the egg, and even the 10 minutes of silence, I was like, this is the best. And I would have thoughts that would try to come in of like, oh, what are you going to do next? Maybe you're going to have your next idea for what you're going to do for your book or for work in here. And then I'd be like, this is not what this is for. And my intention, because you said an intention before when you go in, I'm like, my intention is I'm just seeing what happens. And we spoke about anxiety. You can have body pain. Like, my sister has a deteriorating disc in her back. She went in and felt lighter,
Wow.
and it helped her back. Like, I had a shoulder injury from the gym, and it had ached for 2 months. I woke up the next morning and it didn't hurt. And I was like, wait, I didn't even talk about that because I completely forgot. But the biggest thing for me was my chest just felt light and open. And now I'll go like once a month, but I don't have to. I look forward to it. I love the way I feel. It feels like this openness that I've never had this sense of calm and holding things loosely. Even my family and friends are like, what did you do? Like, you're so much more chill. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I know. You're welcome.
So no
It's
coffee?
so
I
good.
mean,
Right.
it's like the last thing I'm clinging to, but I know that I don't feel great, on
Yeah.
days that I tend to over caffeinate myself. So what was that? What prompted the decision? And, what
Yeah.
was that process like?
You're like, what did
No, what
that
the
look like?
fuck
It's
is wrong with you?
what do you mean?
Yeah.
I actually had people in a group coaching, and I mentioned how I did it because I'm like, I realized it helped my anxiety, and I'll talk about that. But one of the people was like, you will not take my coffee. And I was
Yeah.
like, by the way, I'm just sharing my experience. In no way, shape, or form am I suggesting that people do it. And then on a call, she puts her thing up, and I was like, what's up? And she's like, decaf. And I was like, what? And
Yeah.
she noticed a huge shift. And I've actually had multiple people explain the same thing. So as I had mentioned, right, I had anxiety, and then I was like, maybe it's work related, maybe it's something else. Like I don't, but I always had a tightness in my chest. Like that was a very consistent feeling, and that worry. And so I had been like caffeine curious with coffee because I just started to question, is this a habit? And I think I would have two pretty big cups. And at the end of the second cup, my stomach would hurt a bit. And I was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like if I'm not feeling awesome after it, and I'm like, okay, so is this a habit? And I just started to get really curious about it. Same way with any other habit, right? Curiosity is a huge, powerful tool. I was like,
If curiosity is like, so it can be, it's so healthy if you use it in a
yes,
way to learn more about the world or yourself.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
because I'm so curious and I'm so
yeah.
grateful that I am. So if you don't find yourself asking questions or being curious about things, I would maybe like maybe try to spark your curiosity for other things because it opens
Yes.
doors for me too.
Yeah, and that's exactly it, right? It opens doors. And that was the thing. I would dabble and go back and forth. And then I think I was staying at my cousin's, and they had decaf, and I was like, let's just like, I'll do half and half. Let's just see.
Yeah.
Because I realized I'm like, I don't think caffeine perks me up at all. I think I just like having my cup in the morning.
Mm.
I don't actually think it wakes me up. Like I'm not like, oh, I need my coffee and then I feel
Yeah,
different.
me
That
neither.
wasn't it for me.
Mm-mm.
Oh,
No.
interesting. We're gonna have to follow up on this.
Yeah.
And then it just so happened I was with my boyfriend, and I didn't have a coffee that day, and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I had a raging headache at like 5 o'clock,
Yes.
and I'm like, I don't typically take Advil, but it was right in my front temples, and I was like, what is going on? And then all of a sudden, I was like, oh, I didn't have coffee, and then I had been curious, so I'm like, let's just see. I'm just gonna try this week, and so I think it was day 2 and 3, still had a headache, but I was like, whatever, let's just do it. And it was day 4 that for me, it felt like the elephant that was sitting on my chest got up. And it was the weirdest feeling because I went into it just curious. I was trying to do an experiment as to whether or not it really woke me up, and like, is this more of a habit or does it wake me up? I did not anticipate the chest. Again, it was like
Yeah.
that tightness, and I just went away, and I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Is this one of the culprits of this feeling that I've
Wow.
had of like dread and worry for months?
Mm.
And then it was really interesting. Like, so that was a year ago, and I smelt coffee at the gym last month, and I was like, oh, I love that smell.
Yeah.
So I went and got a decaf, just a black decaf to taste it. I like right now I'm having half decaf, half French vanilla. So that will be like my little treat.
Mm.
But I realized with coffee, I don't actually like the taste. The smell, it went past me, and I was like, oh, that's so good. I want to go do a little test and see if I really like the taste of just coffee. And I didn't. And like within a month, to be honest, it was very similar to alcohol. It was something I used to do that I don't do. And it smells really good, but I didn't miss it. It just became a past habit. And it's something that I thought would be incredibly challenging to give up. I like having a cup so I can have tea, but I got used to having greens or electrolytes or whatever it is. I like routine for sure. So implementing something else that feels better, it was an easy replacement for me,
Yeah,
which is
I
weird.
definitely get if there's a morning that I don't have it, that the headache is, around 1 or 2 p.m.
Yeah.
So I think that's my first hurdle, is
Yes.
getting over those 3 or 4 days,
Yeah,
where the caffeine is absent.
for
Do you
sure.
have caffeine in anything else in your life?
I see, and I tried to look. I think there's a little bit of caffeine in French vanilla,
Okay.
possibly. I thought I had looked at that, and now I'm like, I'm not so sure. For a while, I was still drinking tea, that would have caffeine, but there's something in the caffeine in coffee that is different from the caffeine in tea,
Yes.
and it doesn't give me anxiety. But then I just switched to herbal because I was like, let's just see. So I don't really have any caffeine, maybe a hint.
Well, I always love asking this question to coaches. This is your sweet spot, you know. Yeah, I like to leave listeners with some tangible things, and a lot of our audience is in early recovery or perhaps even still struggling. So,
Hmm.
um, finances can be a problem for, if I think back to active addiction, I didn't have a dime in the bank account,
Yeah.
but, I made sure that the liquor cabinet was full. So free resources or some experience on, today could be the day that someone pulls themselves out of their funk or
Oh
puts one foot in front of the other. What would you like to offer them from Haley?
my gosh, that's
I know it is
loaded.
loaded.
That's loaded. Well, and am I allowed to say a free resource that's not
For sure.
mine?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just because like there is the free 30-day alcohol experiment by This Naked Mind,
Love
which
that.
yes, like a lot, like it's free, it's a resource, it's an experiment. You get to dive into your beliefs, you get curious. It can help identify a lot of beliefs that we don't know we had, and it can actually provide so much information that we didn't know. When I
Perfect.
read This Naked Mind, there was stuff that I didn't know. But oh my gosh, it's so interesting when you say that. And finances can be tough. That's a lot of pressure. I'm trying to think back to like what I would have wanted to hear, what I would have wanted to know. And we did kind of touch on it a little bit in the beginning. And with that saying that you can travel however long in the wrong direction, you can always turn
Yes.
around. I think it's so important for people to know, even if it feels overwhelmingly consuming right now, and like this is your identity, this is it. And the idea, your brain is actually doing what it's used to doing, and it's trying to protect you. So the idea of the unknown and changing your relationship with drugs, alcohol, whatever it is, your brain would rather you stay in that. Even if it's not a good spot, it's still familiar. That bad habit is familiar, so your brain's like, let's stay here. And the idea of doing something new is scary and causes your brain to go into chaos because it's like, I don't know, that's unfamiliar, and all of those fears will come up. I would just encourage you to keep listening to shows like this, keep reading the information, join the communities, and trust that the people who are talking about it on the other side talk about it because they've been where you are. They've felt that heavy energy. I felt that darkness. Both, like, right? Both of us said we wouldn't have made it 2 more years. And trusting that it's all completely possible for you, not comparing. Because as I said before, right now I'm the person who goes to the gym who I was like, I would scoff at. And it's so easy for our minds to be like, well, of course it's easy for Nate to say that. Haley did it. That, of course, that's easy. And every single person has their own journey, and we look for these answers outside of us. But if you can find the hope and possibility inside of you, that's all you need, is just that little bit of hope, that little bit of
A
belief that it,
tiny
it can be
flicker.
possible. A little, it can be tiny.
Yeah.
And then if you surround yourself with people who have that tiny little flicker too, we all light each other up. We all help each other. We all share that energy. So whether it's getting into a community, whether whatever that looks like for each person, but I think it's that finding that little light, however big or small, and trusting that it's possible for you, and trusting that your fears that you have, that's just your brain doing what your brain does. And it doesn't have to be scary. I remember thinking, I have to start over. Holy shit, I have to start over, instead of thinking, oh my gosh, this is a beautiful opportunity to build and rediscover.
That
What an
is
incredible opportunity.
that is okay. Let's stop right
Okay.
there. That is
All right.
really genius when you look at it from a perspective of, because I thought the same thing. Oh my God, I have to completely rebuild my life. This
Yeah.
is the starting point. This is from zero, like day one of building a house or something. It's really
Yeah.
not. It's removing
No.
something from your life that is toxic and not serving you anymore so that you can
Yeah.
continue to build the life that you already were, or that you veered off the course for a while. It's a beautiful opportunity to continue living your life. Beautifully
Yes.
said, Haley. I
That.
love that. And I think it all
Yeah,
goes
and it's
back
so true.
to the willingness, right? The
Yes.
willingness
Yes.
to hear what other people are saying, and the willingness to take suggestions from
Yep.
folks,
Yeah.
to
Yep.
accept help from folks, to get
Yep.
back on that track.
Yeah. And right, you can take it's and that is an AA saying, but it's take what works. It's
Yeah.
like the buffet.
Yeah.
Take the things that work, try the things that maybe look a little funky.
Yeah.
And I always say, like, it might look different, but if it feels good, if what you're doing right now doesn't feel good, different isn't a bad thing. Different doesn't have to be scary. And
Mm.
instead of thinking, oh my God, it's going to look so different, right? With that tone of voice, thinking, oh my gosh, it could look so different. That just when we shift the tone of voice or the way we phrase something, it completely opens it up in an entirely different way.
Go back up to the buffet and try something else.
Go to the buffet, get
Get the
back up to the
prime rib.
buffet. Uh, as many plates as you need. No judgment here.
Gosh. Haley Scherders,
Oh,
livingovertheinfluence.com. I'll link everything in today's show notes. I'll link some resources also from This Naked Mind. I
awesome.
think that, there are some amazing resources, some great free
Yeah.
resources as well.
Yep.
Can we do this more often?
I know. I was like, I really think we
Let's
have to.
not
And now
wait
I'm
two
gonna,
years again.
oh my gosh, I know that's crazy. Well, and I'm gonna have to circle back to see how you're doing with the coffee. So
Yes. Oh gosh. Okay. Maybe I'll do like a coffee challenge, or
you
I'll
think
keep you
about it.
posted either way. But
Yeah. Yeah. No pressure either way. No pressure either way.
yeah.
Just maybe, use that tool of curiosity as we talked about, right?
Thanks so much for listening today, friends. Hopefully, you heard something inspiring and that resonates with you. If you're an aspiring podcaster or have your own message to share, head over to podcastnate.com and book a discovery call. I have helped countless aspiring podcasters to launch their show and share their message, and I'd be honored to help you do the same. Remember, everyone has a story. Yours could help save a life. Make sure you subscribe to the Sobriety Diaries so you never miss an upload. We're back with new episodes every Wednesday. Bye, everyone.